And so you're the roommate then. Welcome home. Unfortunately, Robin is out right now, so I'm afraid you'll have to settle for my company. Although, considering the circumstances, I think my company would be preferable. I'm gonna have to ask you to hand over your phone. How should I put this? Your roommate isn't who you think they are. No, they're not. But I'm sure after living with them for over a year and a half, you must have picked up on that at some point. Robin is a flighty thing, always asking for more, never keeping their promises. Anyway, this time around, they've gone and pissed off some people they shouldn't have pissed off, so I'm here as motivation for them to get what they say they do done. Now, come, sit down. I'm gonna need that phone now, darling. Can't have you getting in the way and making things more difficult now, can we? And if you refuse, then I'm afraid your roommate is gonna be in even bigger trouble. See, the stipulation for their departure is your safety. I couldn't in good conscience let them take off without having some form of insurance that they'd keep their word. After all, they've gone back on it time and time again, and my boss can only be patient for so long. So, your phone. Please. Preferably whilst I'm asking nicely. Thank you, darling. A lot more cooperative than that roommate of yours, to be sure. Oh, don't worry. You'll get it back once I get word that the money's been dropped off. Now then, what shall we do to occupy ourselves? Yes, that'd probably be a good place to start. You do deserve an explanation, considering the inconvenience. Do you mind? Oh, no, but fine. Do you have any drinks, then? It's quite a long story, and I'd prefer to tell it over a cigarette or a drink, but since the former isn't an option... You're quite good at that. Where do you learn? Bartender at a nightclub. Which one? I know that one. I actually used to go there a lot before I got saddled up with this job. Thank you, darling. Now, where to begin? Come and sit, darling. I promise I don't bite, only choke. Let's see. Around 2 years ago, Robin got into a bit of trouble, if you will. I can't disclose the nature of that trouble with you, as it's a bit above my pay grade to do so, but needless to say, they borrowed some money from my boss, Mr. Rose, in order to get out of that trouble, on the grounds that they'll pay the money back by year's end, plus interest, of course. Robin kept extending the deadline by making up petty excuses or by running away. They even went as far as to change their name, rather than using that money to pay Mr. Rose back. A complete moron, if you ask me. Well, after a year of silence, Mr. Rose tasked me to track them down, and by coincidence, I found out that they go to the same university as I do. A stroke of luck, by all accounts. Naturally, I reported back to Mr. Rose, and I'm sure you can surmise the rest. And why do you care to know? Curiosity. Haven't you ever heard, darling? Curiosity killed the cat. You do well to remember that. But, seeing as you've been a lovely host thus far, Despite the circumstances, I suppose I can tell you. Including interest, I'd say Robin owes around 5,000? Could be more if Mr. Rose is in a bad mood. So, what were you doing before you came back today, Well, we have some time to kill whilst we let the important people sort out their business, so let's get to know each other. Oh. Class. Do you go to the same university as Robin does? Well, no wonder why you looked so familiar. You take English literature with Professor Gibson, correct? I was supposed to be there today, but I had to skip because of this nonsense. Well, I suppose you now know who I am to the fullest extent. Can't say the same about you. So, tell me, why English Lit? Fair enough. Filling gen ed requirements is always the worst part about school, but hey, you want that paper, you gotta do it. It's good that you took it with Gibson, though. Well, if you didn't, then this exchange would have never happened. Oh, don't go getting all shy on me now. Go on, tell me more. What's your favorite book we've read so far? Oh, that's a good one. Jane Austen fan, or was the book easier to read because you watched the movie? I thought so. Me? I suppose Tess of the Dubervilles. It's beautiful, tragic, and terribly relatable for me, I'm afraid. Yeah, I've been in a fair amount of unpleasant situations, but like Tess, I had people to protect me and teach me what to protect myself against. Yes, darling, my employer and associates. Things could have been much worse for me if I placed my faith in the wrong person. Fortunately, Mr. Rose has yet to let me down. Well, I suppose at some point in time I'll have to think about how to move on, but for now I'm happy. We're not the mafia, darling. We don't take a vow of silence or anything of the sort. If we want to leave, we can leave, but just as we have a ritual to welcome in newcomers, we have a ritual to send retirees out. Oh, I think it's best we don't enlighten you on that front, even if no one warned you of the danger or taught you what to guard against. I'd rather not drag an innocent into all this. Speaking of teaching you what to guard against, tell me, why is a pretty thing like yourself working at a nightclub? More importantly, how are you so unaware of what goes on underneath the surface if you weren't at a nightclub? Fair enough. I respect that. Keeping your head down and focusing on your work is the best way to avoid trouble. People from both sides tend to stay away from people like you. It means that people who aren't made do their best to not bother you, and people who are do their best to not involve you in their business. It's a good thing. Something tells me you don't quite believe me. Oh, darling, who flooded your head with such lies? You're perfect. Yes, you are. Really? You're seriously going to tell me, the one who's basically holding you hostage, that you've made a lot of mistakes in life? Darling, it doesn't matter if you're working at a nightclub to put yourself through school. At least you can say you're putting yourself through school. How many of these privileged assholes that we have to deal with on a daily basis can say that they're the ones paying for the tuition, and not mommy and daddy, If you concern yourself with the opinions of everyone, especially people who don't really matter, you'll have no time to be concerned with yourself. I think we can find a way to change your mind on that front. Is this room yours? I'm afraid our impulses are too strong for our judgment sometimes. Yet another line by Hardy that's all too relatable, especially in this moment. You're far too alluring to resist, darling. When I saw you walk in the door, it took every ounce of self-control to not get up and run out and find that bastard of a roommate of yours and beat the shit out of them. I don't care what your relationship with them is. Anyone with any sense would never dare give such a lovely thing like yourself up, especially for such nefarious reasons. Stop that. Stop doubting yourself so much. As I said, you are perfect. Shall I prove it to you?